Everybody, it is Kevin, and it is Random Guy.
Hello,
It's
guys.
my brother Zain, and we're going to jump into some fun stuff today. We're going over tech stacks. I know we can go in lots of different directions on that one, but Zain gave me a good line to lead in with today. We're going to be able to do whatever our imaginations can kind of come up with. You know, the imagination station, the creation station, the Disney feel. Who knows where we're going to go? Talk to you in a sec.
Imaginate.
Zain was saying imagining before we left. Zain, let's imagine together, buddy. What are we doing in tech stacks and healthcare? Like, what's the ideal scenarios? What are we kind of trying to break through?
So right now we don't have tech stacks. We have, well, let's back it up a little bit. What is a tech stack? So tech stack is a group of products, programs, software, whatever you want to call it, that work seamlessly together to provide, and they all figure out one aspect of it. So like in programming or developing, they call it tech stack. So like you have something that's a database, something that communicates with the database, like the back end stuff, then the front end, and then you have like, how do you deploy it? Like, so there's each thing has its own purpose, but they all work really well together. In healthcare, we don't have that. We have the EHR, and that's it. And I think health tech is, I think one of the things that really stifles innovation and also stifles tech in general, like people coming outside of healthcare trying to come in, is that lack of like data flow, right? Like, like Google, Apple, Amazon, all these people, everything, when Microsoft, they're all working on data that's shared in a central area that they can reach and use and show you however they feel like showing you. In healthcare, that does not exist, based on privacy issues, some created, some manufactured, some that are completely valid, but I don't think that they're valid enough to stop something like this. So in my utopic world, you would have something that's a database. So like you have your EHRs, right? They'll be your database. They're the ones that are housing everything. They're already made for billing. And they're really great at it. So why not, like, they can be your billing software. Then you can have a scheduling software that works, a patient management thing that works right with your billing software. Then you have your note-taking app. You have this and that. It's literally how we interact with all of our technology, like your computer, your laptop, your phone. Everyone's device is different because it's catered to them and their use cases. And in healthcare, we don't have that luxury. We have one use case that we have to shoehorn everyone into. One example I use all the time is, a cardiothoracic surgeon and a cardiologist are two different things, but they're dealing with the same organ, but they're both going down the same pathways, the same workflows and all that, when they shouldn't need to be.
Interesting. Okay, so like you're saying, backing up to tech stack just in general, if we are looking at the tech stacks that you're often encountering inside of business, saying fill in some of the gaps with me here, and I'll try not to use like the business or company name so it doesn't look like we're preferencing one or the other, which is kind of hard because now like Kleenex, right? Like tissue paper, like some of them are basically becoming synonymous, which is good for you guys. You're having great marketing out there. But if we have our email, we have our task management tools, we've got our CRM, we've got our employee management tools, and then we've got our outreach tools or our communication tools. Like all of those need to be able to communicate together, in terms of helping with business development, helping with sales, helping with internal processes, quality improvement. All of those work kind of cohesively. And oftentimes we're using various like internal integrations that are already there that they're communicating back and forth. So I don't literally have to type in one and then go to the other and type it in and the third to type it in. Everything's flowing through an entire system. So no matter where I look, I'm getting the pieces necessary that are put into one system into another system so we can seamlessly be able to work kind of together. Oftentimes, I mean, I don't know another one that's out there, which I'm sure there are a bunch of them, Zane, that you can correct me, but like Zapier or Zapier. That one is a really good one that has a ton of different softwares that you can be able to connect together if they don't already have internal integrations. And Zane and I talk about all the time, like most of these companies already do. Like they already have an API or something literally set up between one system and another system that's already baked in, and you don't need to add additional layers to. So in healthcare, we don't have that. Zane can say something inside of his email, his secure and private email, to a patient or to a physician that in no way gets reflected across into his clinical decision support software and does not get reflected across into his EHR, which doesn't get reflected across into his you fill in the blank, on those things. Pretty good kind of summarization of just here's how broken each piece is. And the big problem is time, inefficient record keeping, and super sloppy, dirty data.
Yeah, and then one thing that everyone, I just had a conversation recently with somebody, and then they were like, "Why don't you just make them write better notes or take better notes?" And the problem with that is it's great, great, would love to do that, would love to do that. But, the people saying that, why don't you sit in a clinic where you're already an hour and a half behind with patients yelling at you, nursing yelling at you, everyone is just yelling at each other, you know, and you tell me how quick how accurate your notes will be. It's just not. It's like asking to put toothpaste back into the tube. Yes, it is possible with time and effort, but no one's going to do it. It's really hard to do. Like, people will do their best, but at some point you have to be like, what's more important? Okay, I got to go see the patients. We need to take care of them, fix them, and this and that. And then, like, but if you had a unified system that makes things easier, because the thing is, like, you can't be everything for everyone, and I think that's one of the biggest problems with our EHRs is they are trying to be everything for everyone all the time, and it's
Yep.
just not a possibility. I mean, look at some of the largest tech companies like Google, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft. Yes, they have very expansive reaches, but if you really break it down, they're very siloed into what they do and what they do really well, right? And the thing is, like, you can't do that. They understand, like, when you buy a laptop, a Windows laptop, yes, they have their things suite of products that just get you started, but they're not providing you with like a professional grade editing software or like this and that. Like, if you don't need Word or Excel, guess what, you can just go on Google Docs and just use Google Docs, right? But right now we're being forced to use Word and Excel. We are forced to use all these things that we may not even need, and they don't really fit our use cases right now.
Yeah, I think one just really seamless one, Zane, you can give me when it comes to like a tech stack example in healthcare that I do see working and has paid dividends is really going from a drug procurement to dispensing and administration in a hospital system. Like we've found a way to be able to integrate all of those seamlessly so that everything from you order the drug from a wholesaler, it gets into the individual hospital. That hospital is able to take the data that came from the wholesaler, input it into the EHR, which then now on the MAR, the nurses are able to pull from. It gets integrated into the automated dispensing cabinets. They're pulling those out, utilizing that integrated information to scan and do bedside medication verification and administer something to a patient. So that's it working fairly well, inside of healthcare and has made a huge difference in safety. Oftentimes, even in my background, when those things broke down, when they didn't work well, people got hurt. And that's an interesting piece about what you're kind of pulling in there, bud. It's not just simply like we want more time or we want to avoid all the yelling, which there is yelling. But we also want to keep patients safe. And I feel like without having this tech stack that's highly integrated, the gaps that we cause in care, massive.
Yeah, I mean, it's like asking like a pharmacist to go do a spinal tap, right? I'm sure we could do it. Would we do it well? No. Would it be terrible and bad for everyone involved? Yes. But that's kind of what it is like to use technology in healthcare. You are a pharmacist doing a spinal tap 90% of the times, and it doesn't make sense. And like, the thing is, why not let people that really understand that specific vertical, let them make the solutions, and they will make a really good solution, right? Like, people that know how to make really good note-taking apps, let them make that app. People that really know how to make amazing scheduling softwares, let them make that. But just allow them to all talk to each other, so where when you schedule Zane for Monday morning at 8 a.m., that goes into your EHR, all your things, all your records are pulled in, all that stuff. And it would just make things a lot easier because you have the best of everything. You have at your disposal theoretically the best of everything, and you can kind of approach it as an a la carte solution where, okay, we need X, Y, and Z, but right now we have the full alphabet being thrown at us. We don't really need the full alphabet. Might need, 4 or 5 letters.
Yeah, and honestly, Zane, I would be good if it was the full alphabet, if there was all the alphabet from the exact same culture and language base. But instead, we end up getting the Greek alphabet, we get the English alphabet, we get every single alphabet in Sanskrit, that's written out, and then we have to piece those things together in one way, shape, or form. And that's where the translation really struggles, pretty badly. So tell me this, bud, when it comes to like getting tech stacks set up and where you've seen, because you've been part of organizations that you and I talked before about pulling these organizations together that are basically doing like background innovation to create their own tech stacks. And I know some like large healthcare systems are doing this, consultant organizations are doing this. What's being done by other orgs that you've seen so they can make their own tech stacks and basically, how do we say this, force the EHRs to be able to take on some of these additional technologies to better patient care?
Yeah, I mean, so it's a lot has changed in the last like decade, even with the HRs being a little bit more open with their data. But I think like one thing that the pandemic did is it really stressed the system in the sense good and bad, right? Good in the sense that there were a lot of people coming in from a lot of different areas saying, "Hey, this doesn't make sense. Why are we doing it this way?" And and really opening the eyes of healthcare. I remember having a conversation with one of my cousins, and I was telling him basically a CRM, and he's like, "How does that not exist in healthcare?" And I'm like, "It just doesn't." So I mean that's one thing, right? And then in terms of companies doing it, I think there is a big push for APIs. For people that don't know what APIs are, APIs are kind of like it's kind of an easy way for your software to interact with another software. It's like a packaged way so you can easily retrieve the data you need to retrieve and hopefully send data that you need to send, right? So it just makes it a lot easier. You don't need like a huge dev team if the API is good. Let's say that. So there are companies that are like creating APIs, like FlexBug comes to mind. Health Gorilla, all of them. They're all like trying to get all this stuff, and then they're interacting with other companies. So what's happening now is these health tech companies are interacting with these middle subsidiaries that are interacting with EHRs. So a lot of people don't know getting integrating with EHRs is really expensive, and not every health tech company has that kind of runway. So like when we're sitting there like, oh, why don't you just integrate with Epic or Cerner or whatever? That's not like oh yeah, here's $50, we can do it real quick. No, it's very substantial amount of money.
Yeah, no, I think you just kind of hit everything on the head, buddy, to really be able to cover is the integrations that are in place can be a struggle. And sometimes the integrations that are in place shouldn't be a struggle because we should make it easier in one way, shape, or form. But we need to come back to this one again. I know that you've got to run and I've got to run to another one actually talking about tech stacks. So we'll fill you guys in next time. Make sure you follow Zain on Digital Thoughts and then follow his channel inside of our PHL and join it. Zain, we do have a fun competition. It is support versus education. We're doing it for the final four. So make sure that if you're joining the support stuff, which unfortunately Zain and I are on opposite teams, but education is my team, support is all of Zain's team. When you guys join, the winner will get some swag and you guys can get involved by referring folks over, and we will talk to you next week.
Bye guys.
Bye, everybody.